What is the 2030 agenda for you, and what are its main values?
Well, the interesting thing is, maybe it's odd to say this, life goes on with or without the agenda. And where I'm from in Canada, I would say a lot of the work we've done is really not bound by the agenda. So maybe, again, I shouldn't say this, but it hasn't had much impact at the local level where we're doing a lot of our work. Having said that, I do think that it's important to write policy, write principles, write goals and objectives down, because they do provide a broader framework. So it sort of validates some of what you're doing, but again, the reality in terms of what we're doing on the ground really grows out of a longer history and pattern of the way we do things than just the SDG.
What can be done more to encourage participation?
I think in terms of encouraging participation, I'll start from the perspective of, I don't think anybody can walk in anywhere and encourage participation. And I know that's not really the way the question was intended, but I think participation has got to start at the local level. It must. And therefore, it takes the groundswell of community building, building capacity, building leadership, and I guess maybe that falls in the category of teaching and education and transferring knowledge, and quite frankly also being prepared to transfer power. So that comes with risks, and it's difficult, but that's longer term. And maybe framing all of that for me is the phrase, do you want to give people fish, or do you want to teach them how to fish? So when I think about building participation, it's about providing the tools, the mechanisms, the vehicles, the institutions, so that they can learn how to fish, and then we're not reliant on the expert, which always comes from outside, to kind of be the person who knows. We need less reliance on that, so you build local capacity and transfer ownership and power.
What is your personal and organizational role in achievement of the SDGs?
Well, I guess as a professor of planning, I have a very broad view of planning, which in one way I think fits with the linkage, not so much vertically, but across all of the goals and principles in the SDGs. So it's, for me, I want to say it's a way of thinking, and it's an integrating mechanism, which quite honestly, I don't think we have very much of. I think people are quite prepared to become experts, and I would use the phrase drill down. But the reality is the world doesn't work that way. The world talks to each other. So actually, I think as an organizing, a thinking, a validating sort of mechanism that is written down and therefore is out there and does provide some commonality irrespective of boundaries, it's a really useful document, a set of documents from that perspective.
What are the lessons learned and best practices that you discovered during this conference?
The lessons that I think are reinforced for me, maybe they're very simple, but I think sometimes the most simple are the most important. At the end of the day, it's about trust. And it's about trust between you and I. It's about trust in your own municipality, your own organizations. And that trust is not over the internet. It's not over a computer. It's not, no matter how effective all of those tools are, they're means. They're not ends. So what I learn and always take back is trust, and that means person to person, which therefore means democracy is slow and it takes time. I think the long term is what we're in for. So again, it's kind of building that. So trust matters. And the other is local knowledge rules. Sometimes when I come to a group like this, you look out and there's countries from east to west and north to south. And I'm struck by, I think we try to provide what's the golden message, what's the magic takeaway. And I don't think there is one. I think the magic takeaways actually are probably rooted in the local communities and the local people and where they come from. And I sometimes wish that the venue was more for sharing what happens local to local, not so much national or international, but local to local, and talking at that level. So on one hand, I find that reinforced to me today, not as a negative, but that's where the action needs to take place. It's all at the local level.